Are y'all serious? First of all, why are you even able to sign into your personal account on your work laptop? Why would you even put company proprietary confidential information onto your personal Google account, wherever it was? Why would you do that? Two, why is the company not providing ways for people to store passwords in a secure manner on their work laptops? These are questions that you got to ask yourself. And I know they're asking themselves, like, why? It's very simple. It's very simple. People shouldn't be able to do that. I think the juicier thing is to talk about Okta and how they're blaming their employee on their breach. And it's really negligence and lack of compliance controls on their part. And we're going to talk about GRC in a second. All right, it says Okta hack blamed on employee use a personal Google account on company laptop. A brief postmortem from Okta security chief David Bradbury said the internal lapse was most likely avenue for the breach that ensnared hundreds of Okta customers, including cybersecurity companies Beyond Trust and Cloudflare. We can confirm from September 28th, 2023 to October 17th, 2023, a threat actor gained unauthorized access to files inside Okta's customer support system associated with 134 Okta customers, or less than 1% of Okta customers. Some of these files were HAR files that contain session tokens, which could be in turn used for session hijacking attacks. And session hijacking attacks are probably one of the biggest ways that people get hacked, like especially influencers on social media with social media. And even if you have MFA, it won't matter because they'll be able to bypass it and get into your session. So that's why you do have to be mindful of when you get all these things in your DM and you're not familiar with who this person is. Don't click the link because even if you have MFA set up, they'll be in. And most of the time they go in and try to change your email and do everything else. And it's a pain to get back into your account. But let's keep reading. He said the threat actor was able to use the session tokens to hijack the legitimate Okta sessions of 5 customers. Bradbury said that they leveraged the service account stored in the system itself that was granted permission to view update customer support cases. And guys, all a service account is a account that's probably most of the time used for like automated tasks. Like you'll see in an environment, sysadmin or somebody is using a service account. It has certain permissions that it can do things, but most of the time it's a privileged account that it can do things. And but when you see it, you also know that most of the time it's expected behavior from what you see from it. It's very rarely not unexpected behavior. And that's where the detection piece of this comes from. Is like when the service account is doing something you don't recognize, that's when you need to look into that a little bit more and say, what's going on? They don't typically do this. This is out of the hours that we typically see them run scheduled jobs. Doing our investigation into suspicious uses of this account, Okta Security identified that an employee has signed in to their personal Google profile on the Chrome browser of their Okta managed laptop. The username and password of the service account had been saved into the employee's personal Google account. Ooh, let me stop sharing because I want to talk to y'all. Are y'all serious? First of all, why are you even able to sign into your personal account on your work laptop? Why would you even put company proprietary confidential information onto your personal Google account, wherever it was? Why would you do that? Two, why is the company not providing ways for people to store passwords in a secure manner on their work laptops? These are questions that you got to ask yourself. And I know they're asking themselves, like, why? It's very simple. It's very simple. People shouldn't be able to do that. Like, even for us, like, we can't even download plugins, no nothing. It's blocked. Everything got to go through the help desk. You got to put a ticket in for it. If you need a software, you need to request it because if you do have a local hardware, a local like password manager, like for example, we used to use KeyPass at Optiv, and I put all my passwords there. So in the case I did get compromised, they still would have to figure out how to even get into that and then get there to get that password. But that's neither here nor there. Let's keep on reading. Let's keep on reading. The most likely avenue for exposure of this credential is the compromise of the employee's personal Google account or personal device. And that's it. 9 times out of 10, most of these things work from social engineering and they're very good at it. So if they know what you do and maybe you find out, okay, they work in the customer support system or they do this and they do that and they target you like they've been doing, it's gonna be easy for them to figure out and get you, especially on your personal machine, let alone if they have to get on the work laptop. For a period of 14 days while actively investigating, Okta did not identify suspicious downloads in our logs. When a user opens and views files attached to a support case, a specific log event type and ID is generated tied to that file. If a user instead navigates directly to the Files tab in the customer support system, as the threat actor did in this attack, they will instead generate an entirely different log event with a different record ID. And I wonder, how did they not know that that happened? Like, is a threat actor the only person that did that to where they got those two different audit logs, those IDs? If it is, that's a shame. That's another thing that could have been brought up. The Okta chief security officer said his team's initial investigations focused on access to support cases and later made a major breakthrough after Beyond Trust shared a suspicious IP address attributed to the threat actor. With this indicator, we identified the additional file access events associated with the compromised account. Okta has found itself in the crosshairs of multiple hacking groups that targets its infrastructure to break into third-party organizations. Now they say a sophisticated hacking group targeted IT service desk personnel in an effort to convince them to reset multi-factor authentication for high-privileged users within the targeted organization. Also, these are different controls you can put in place. When people are high-profile VIP users, they typically shouldn't call the help desk to get a reset. They should have their own separate communications that everyone doesn't know. It's only on a need to know basis. That it's like executive support. Like when I used to, and I'll tell you, right, this is my stream. So when I worked at Opta, we managed security operations for Disney. So if we seen someone with a VIP person that needed their password or something changed, so we need to verify where they're traveling, we call that executive support, not the regular help desk. Because we're the only people that had that number. Well, certain people in the company. But it's easy to find like the regular help desk number for general regular clients or customers or workers, but that's one that should be segmented. So they shouldn't be able to really have a number unless they got a mole in the house. They say in that attack, Okta said hackers use a new lateral movement and defense evasion methods, but has not shared any information on the threat actor itself or its ultimate goal. It's unclear if it's related, but last year many Okta customers were targeted as part of a financially motivated cybercrime campaign called Octopus. All right. Yeah, Okta is they need a better GRC team. And speaking of GRC, if you're interested in GRC, then you need to check out Techpreneurs Club. I got the link in my description. They help people get into GRC. They also provide you like mentors, interview prep, access to some internships. So GRC is still a thing. I think I skipped over the part in the article where they're saying like it was a failed control that they didn't recognize. So they'll get better from this, but it sucks if it's like every time I think of breaches, I always think about okay, controls, security ops. When did they notice that like, hey, this unauthorized IP we don't recognize logged into our systems to do to hijack some sessions? Like I always think about these things. How long were they even in the environment? How did they maintain persistence? So hopefully, Author keeps on providing everyone with information on how this happened because what we typically do in these cases is we take this information like our threat intel teams, vulnerability management, SecOps, IR, we all look at this information and we start trying to build out detections around it so we can fortify our defenses so we are not susceptible to the same attacks. That's typically what happens. So if you're planning on interviewing this week or the coming weeks for a security job, they're going to try to ask you, hey, how do you keep up with the news? Tell them like this. Like I go through and I research through like Bleeping Computer, TechCrunch, Business Insight, anywhere that's pubs and cribs on security. I think Sands has one too. Anybody that's publishing security related content, tell go there and I read that. That's how I keep up with all the latest attacks. And I share them on my team. I had a client one time, he was in my Slack channel, and because my security news channel that I have in the Slack channel. Speaking of, I think you can join my Slack with the link in the description. If not, I'll post it into the chat. But he saw my stuff and he was able to share with his team, and they were able to come up and fix the vulnerabilities that they had with whatever exploit that was out there. And I think he got promoted or raised from that. I gotta ask Derek about that. But that's the whole point. You'd be surprised who's not paying attention, who's just going home and coming to work. So be that person that just does a little bit extra. Whether y'all don't even have security stuff coming out all the time or a really good threat intel team, if you see some stuff, just send an email for everybody every day. Just something to stand out. Let's say, okay, he got his head on a swivel. You know, football, you gotta keep your head on a swivel so you don't get cleaned up.